In Japan's long history, few figures shine with the stark brilliance of Miyamoto Musashi, a man who reached the height of self-mastery, not through status, riches, or conquest, but by simplifying his existence to its core. He was an incredibly skilled swordsman, undefeated in over 60 duels, but his true strength lay not in his weapon, but in his profound inner calm. Musashi lived as a masterless samurai, choosing independence over alliances and quiet isolation over seeking acceptance. His greatest triumph was not over an adversary, but over the chaotic inner self that most people spend their lives controlled by. Unlike the Western admiration for military triumph and external might, figures like Alexander, Caesar, or Napoleon, Musashi's journey was an internal one. His discipline wasn't showy or dramatic. It was forged through hardship, deprivation, relentless practice, and detachment. He slept beside his sword, trained without instructors, and crafted his own eating utensils. For him, every action, from fighting to artistic writing, served as a means of personal refinement. At the heart of his philosophy lay a stark truth. True mastery demands sacrifice. Musashi's entire life was dedicated to this ideal, a profound testament to self-mastery. To grasp how such discipline was cultivated, we must look beyond Musashi's choices to the harsh environment that molded him. His inner path wasn't formed in a vacuum. It emerged from a world that demanded severity and a childhood devoid of ease. His upbringing wasn't just context. It was the grindstone that sharpened his resolve. Before he could choose his own direction, life itself carved a path through him. Miyamoto Musashi was born in 1584 amidst Japan's brutal Sengoku period, which was a century of civil war where survival hinged on mastering combat. This was an era defined by shifting loyalties and endless conflicts between warring lords. Raised without a mother and under the strict guidance of his father, a martial artist who valued discipline above all else, Musashi learned early on that strength wasn't optional, it was the sole path forward. His early years were not soft, but rather instilled an immediate understanding that life would not wait for him to be prepared. At just 13, he engaged in his first duel and emerged victorious, leaving an adult samurai dead. Yet, Musashi's journey wasn't driven by conquest or revenge. His sword served not as an extension of ego, but as a tool for transformation. Beneath the violence was a deeper quest, the cultivation of an unwavering inner self. To Musashi, every conflict was a crucible, burning away fear, arrogance, and comfort until only clarity remained. He wasn't a killer pursuing fame, he was a seeker shaping his spirit through intense struggle. He rejected titles, turned down wealth, and roamed Japan in simple clothes with toughened feet, unaffected by luxury or social norms. While other swordsmen sought recognition or disciples, Musashi walked alone, challenging himself against the world rather than retreating from it. He firmly believed that discipline blossomed in adversity, and that a life free from distractions was the only way to true invincibility. Where most people sought to build defenses around themselves, Musashi bravely stepped into the storm, convinced that only there could one truly sharpen their essence. In the final years of his life, Miyamoto Musashi didn't leave behind instructions for winning battles. He left a guide for conquering the self. The Dokkōdō, or the Way of Walking Alone, is a concise yet impactful list of 21 principles written just days before his death on the 13th of June, 1645. Unlike his earlier work, The Book of Five Rings, which focused on strategy and combat, this was more profound. A last reflection on discipline, clear perception, and living a life without compromise. These were not lessons for the battlefield, they were lessons for the spirit. Each principle strikes like a sharp blade, cutting through illusions. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Do not fear death. Do not hold on to possessions you no longer need. These are less instructions and more direct challenges. Musashi didn't just advocate for self-mastery. He demanded the shedding of the unnecessary, the sentimental, the weak. These are not the words of someone desiring peace, but of a man who faced the core of distraction and chose a different path. The Dokkōdō acts as a mirror, compelling the reader to ask, what am I still clinging to, and who would I become without it? However, there's an inherent cost to this clarity. Musashi's philosophy, while incisive and resilient, lacks warmth. The pursuit of mastery, as he defined it, is a solitary ascent. It necessitates deep detachment, not only from material things, but from people, comfort, and even recognition. Musashi paid this price. He lived without luxury, without steady companions, and passed away alone in a cave. Yet, in that isolation, he discovered something rare, a unique inner invincibility. His quietness, his self-control, and his willingness to be misunderstood was his ultimate victory. His principles weren't written with our time in mind, yet they resonate with us perfectly. Musashi didn't speak to an age of algorithms and constant distractions, but his life foresaw it. The very things he cautioned against, such as attachment, excess, and dependence, are fundamental to modern existence. His dwelling may have been a stone cave, but ours are constructed from screens, constant noise, and perpetual desires. What initially seemed distant and severe now feels remarkably familiar. Centuries after its composition, the Dokkōdō, a brief code of self-discipline by Miyamoto Musashi, reads less like an ancient warrior's final words and more like a warning to the overstimulated modern mind. In a world where constant approval, endless entertainment, and carefully curated lives consume our time, Musashi's words cut through the fog, precise, unwavering, and strikingly clear. His concise statements carry the weight of a man who had stripped life down to its bare essentials, a practice driven not by cruelty but by disciplined necessity. Consider the line, "Do not seek to possess either goods or fiefs for your old age." This isn't a rejection of wealth itself, it's a rejection of psychological reliance. Musashi wasn't promoting poverty but warning against attachment. In an era where people define themselves by their possessions, appearances, and accumulations, this concept feels almost alien. But Musashi wasn't concerned with what felt good. He was interested in what kept the spirit sharp. His life was a training ground for the soul, not a stage for comfort. Musashi's code, once dismissed as excessively severe or stoic, now appears as a blueprint for psychological fortitude. His deliberate detachment wasn't an escape. It was liberation from the things that allure, then gradually enslave. What once seemed cold now looks like profound insight. Musashi understood the cost of a life lived for convenience, softness, reliance, a loss of inner direction. He didn't offer a philosophy of comfort, he offered a path to self-command. And in today's loud, hyper-connected world, his silence speaks more powerfully than ever. Musashi's sword wasn't solely for combat, it symbolized presence, precision, and self-restraint. By remembering him, we're not glorifying violence, but resurrecting a way of being that our era has nearly forgotten. A way of choosing mindful awareness over impulse, clear direction over aimless drifting. His overlooked sword now points to the core of our modern restlessness. We haven't found ourselves in this distracted, overstimulated state because we are inherently weak. We are here because comfort is profoundly addictive, purposefully designed to be so. Our contemporary world, fueled by unhealthy food, immediate gratification, and endless digital scrolling, draws us toward what's quick and superficial. It rewards distraction and discourages stillness. In a system constantly feeding our impulses, discipline feels obsolete. However, in truth, it is the very thing that can truly liberate us. But this is more than just a societal issue. It's a personal reckoning. Beneath all the noise lies a quieter question. What have I sacrificed for convenience? Our daily routines might feel effortless, but they come at a deeper cost, including our presence, our inner strength, and our clear direction. Discipline, then, isn't a form of punishment. It's a return, a journey back to what truly matters. And that journey isn't found through shortcuts or quick fixes, but through consistent, hard-earned habits and quiet determination. Miyamoto Musashi grasped this centuries before we even had words for it. He didn't offer wisdom from a podium. He embodied Aiton silence in solitude through a life forged by conflict, simplicity, and detachment. For Musashi, discipline wasn't about rigid control. It was about absolute clarity. Pain became a vital teacher. Emptiness became a revealing mirror. And by shedding everything non-essential, he discovered a kind of strength that no amount of comfort could ever provide. Ultimately, Musashi's message wasn't loud, but it was enduring. When all else is stripped away, namely pleasure, distraction, and external validation, what remains is the authentic self. Not shattered, but sharpened. Not empty, but refined. A self that chooses purpose over ease. A self that isn't dictated by the world, but deeply anchored, polished, unyielding, and truly free. A warrior's final legacy wasn't a sword or a battle plan, but a profound quietness, a deliberate turning inward. After a lifetime of combat, Musashi understood that the greatest victory wasn't over others, but over oneself. His discipline, once demonstrated in duels, now resided in his restraint. In his quiet withdrawal from the world, he left behind not strategies for war, but a mirror for those brave enough to confront themselves. In the last phase of his life, Miyamoto Musashi retreated from the world, not as a warrior, but as a seeker. He chose solitude in a mountain cave, leaving behind human clamor and the burden of reputation. This retreat wasn't an escape, it was a homecoming, a return to essence, to stillness, to the self beneath the warrior's guise. After a life spent mastering external conflict, Musashi shifted his focus inward, confronting the more subtle battles of meaning, mortality, and detachment. What he left wasn't a conquest, but a quiet map for those who dare to walk alone. What Musashi offered us wasn't comfort, but profound clarity. The Dokkōdō doesn't guarantee joy or success. It demands presence, detachment, and unwavering honesty. Lines like respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help don't dismiss spirituality. They underscore personal responsibility. Musashi wasn't trying to gain admiration. He was outlining a blueprint for living with integrity in a chaotic world where the only true adversaries are one's own ego and self-deception. It's easy to praise Musashi for his skill with the blade, for his duel victories, and the legends he inspired. But his true mastery wasn't in fighting. It was in his unshakable conviction. He simplified life to its core: discipline without distraction, purpose without seeking praise. He refused to be swayed by trends, attachments, or even emotions. His victories were never merely physical. There were triumphs over fear, vanity, and dependence. That, more than any single duel, is what distinguishes him as the ultimate embodiment of Japanese discipline. In today's world, where convenience is marketed as the ultimate goal and shortcuts are celebrated, Musashi's life feels almost alien, yet profoundly necessary. His stillness, his solitude, and his refusal to chase external validation all stand as quiet acts of defiance in a noisy era. The zenith of discipline was not found in his sword, but in the silence that followed its use. And perhaps the most potent lesson Musashi bestowed upon us is this: greatness isn't about being seen, but about seeing clearly and choosing to move forward regardless. If Musashi's path to clarity resonates with you, consider reflecting on what you might shed from your own life to gain greater purpose. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you found value in this exploration, please like this video and subscribe for more insights into ancient wisdom for modern living. Thank you for joining this journey.